Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I want to presentation about business ownership. Before that, my name is Rafly from class 5 IPA MAPA. So let's get started. Types of business ownership. A key first step for any entrepreneur is setting up an organization that will be used to formally embark on the business journey. But many new business owners struggle to identify the best way to move forward. These are the most common ways to organize business from the simplest through the most complex. Sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is the most basic form of business ownership, where there is one sole owner who is responsible for the business. It is not a legal entity that separates the owner from the business, meaning that the owner is responsible for all the debt and obligation of the business on a personal level. In exchange for that liability, the owner keeps all the profit gained from the business. This form of business ownership is easy and inexpensive to create and has few government regulation, making it a more flexible type of ownership with complete control at a discretion of the owner. In addition, profits are tax on, and there are some tax breaks available if the business is struggling. Sole proprietorship often are limited to the resource the owner can bring to the business. For this reason, sole proprietors are often most operate during the early stage of a business where the owner has little capital resource to work with but also has few debt to pay. Partnership are a form of business ownership where two or more people act as co-owners. There are two forms of partnership which are general partnership and limited partnership, differentiated primarily by the liability coverage by the owners. In a generation partnership, all owners of the business have unlimited liability in the business. For a limited partnership, at least one of the partners has a limited liability, meaning they are not personally responsible for the debt of the business. Regardless of the type of partnership, they are relatively easy and cheap to create, have government regulation, and are only tax on like a sole proprietorship. The added benefit of a partnership is the combination of knowledge and research that are brought to the table thanks to additional owners. Profit do have to be shared between owners, and there is always the potential for conflict to arise between partners over business decision. This type of ownership is often useful in the early stage of the business where multiple people are involved. Due the sharing of profits and the additional resource, this type of ownership is often expected to yield higher rates than a sole proprietorship corporation. Unlike the previous two examples, corporations are a form of ownership that is a legal entity separate from its owners. This creates a limited liability for all owners but result in a double taxation on profit. First as a corporate income tax, then a personal income tax when the owner take their profit. Corporation then to have a easier time raising capital than sole proprietorship of partner in large part due to the greater source of funding made available to them. such as selling stock. However, this does result in greater government regulation for corporations, such as requirement for more extensive record keeping. In addition, setting up a corporation is much more difficult, requiring more research and capital to cover expense and create legal documentation. This ownership form is best suited for fast-growing or mature organizations that have owner looking for limited liabilities company, a form of business ownership that is taxed like a partnership but enjoy the benefits of a limited liabilities like a corporation is a limited liabilities company. In comparison to corporation, it is simpler to organize and does not reserve double taxation while simultaneously receiving more credibility than a partnership or sole proprietor when it comes to gathering resources such as working capital. Unfortunately, this form of ownership is usually reserved for a group of professionals such as accountant, doctor, and lawyer. As corp- as corporation, a lesser known ownership style, and as corporation is a type of business ownership that allow its owners to avoid double taxation because the organization is not required to pay corporation tax. Instead, all profit or loss are passed on the owner of the organization to report on their personal income tax. This form of ownership does allow for limited liability similar to corporation but without the double taxation. The disadvantage of this organization's special nature is the increased level of government regulation and the restriction on the number and type of shareholder it may have. This type of ownership is used in the mature stage of business life cycle and often by private organizations due to the restriction on ownership. Franchise ownership allow a franchise to borrow the fractures business model and brand for a specific period. It comes with a list of advantages including training on how to operate your franchise system and technology for day-to-day operation, guidance and on marketing, advertising and other business needs, and our network of franchise owners to sharing experience with. The main disadvantage to this ownership structure are franchising fees, royalties on sale or profit, and tight restriction to maintain ownership. Franchise owner also have limited control over the supplier they can purchase from, are forced to contribute to a marketing fund they have little control over. If a franchise wants to sell their business, the franchisor must approve the new buyer. Despite this disadvantage, franchise are great for owners who are looking for an out of the box to owning their own business. Cooperative Cooperative are organizations that are owned and controlled by an association of members. This form of ownership allow for a more democratic approach to control where each share is worth in the same amount of votes. Similar to a corporation with common stock, it also offers limited liabilities to its owner and equal profit distribution based on ownership percentage. Disappointingly, the democratic approach to this decision making result in a longer decision making process as participant from a association member is required. Conflict between members can also arise that can have a big impact on the efficiency of the business. Cooperative are often used when individuals or business decide to pool resource to achieve a common goal or satisfy a common need, such as employment needs or a delivery service. I think that's all. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.